Hi folks, the Filipina P here, telling it like it is. Sometimes I get criticized for being too blunt and not very diplomatic. And I guess today's just gonna be one of those days. I've been at this YouTube thing for over a year now, and there's a topic that keeps rearing its ugly head. So I thought I'd drop a few truth bombs on it so we can do away with misconceptions. Today I'm gonna talk about the concept of love and what it means in the West versus what it means here in the East. Now, men and women all over the world basically want the same things, but we see the equation of love differently, depending on our culture and our specific needs. But what is love? Well, I won't even try to define it here, since it's already stumped the best philosophers. But for this video, let's just call love the situation where two people want to be together forever. That's pretty simple, right? You wish. Westerners tend to see the world very realistically when it comes to things like medicine, technology, concrete things. But when it comes to love, in my opinion, you folks are often stuck with a model that's too idealistic and just doesn't mesh with reality. Many Western men are only now finding this out, and it's not your fault. It's what your culture taught you that love was supposed to be. The Western concept of romantic love relies heavily on pure emotion and the idea of unconditional soulmates. To you, love is a spiritual, sometimes divine condition that binds two people in a relationship. And you feel like you could fall on your sword and sacrifice yourself to prove your love for someone you love so much. Your concept of love often has little connection to the physical reality of everyday life. And you choose your partners based on personal preferences and feelings. Well, that type of thinking can get you guys into trouble when it comes to matters of the heart. And if you're coming to this part of the world, it's best to know what the rules are, because in many cases, it can seem like we're playing a different game. Not that the Western ideals of romantic love don't play a big part here, but there certainly are some differences. So why do I call love an equation? Because love is a complex algorithm that's different for every person, and it's all about finding someone that fulfills your needs. Are you attracted to a submissive partner or a stronger mate that won't put up with any BS? Are you looking for an intelligent mate that can discuss deep topics? Or would you rather just have a simple companion to pass the time? There can be a lot of variables in the equation of love. Well, as much as we hate to admit it, there are certain limitations to who we fall in love with. You can be heavily attracted to someone on a physical level, but we all know, or should know, that love is more than that, right? So how do we decide who we fall in love with? Well, most people say it just happens. But there's a lot of ingredients in that recipe that they might not be aware of. For instance, if you're a middle-aged man, could you fall in love with a really old woman, say 85 years old? Why not? What need does she not fulfill? If you're a woman, could you fall in love with a guy that's 2 feet shorter than you and flat broke? Why not? What need does he not fulfill? Generally speaking, a man looks at a woman's beauty first. You want an attractive woman, fairly young if possible, within acceptable limits of course, whose physical beauty and sexuality are appealing to you. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the natural order of things. You probably also want a woman with an agreeable personality that's compatible with yours. Someone who sees the world like you do. And you might look for a nurturing woman that can take care of you and any children you might have. You don't usually care so much about a woman's education level or earning potential because you often like to assume the role of provider. It's what you do best. A woman, on the other hand, uses a different equation when sizing up a man. She doesn't typically place as much emphasis on a man's appearance and instead looks for things like confidence, intelligence, and yes, his ability to provide. Once again, nothing wrong with that. It's always been the natural way of things. Now deep down, we all know that's the way things work for women, but it doesn't really fit the Western concept of romantic love The mere mention of the fact that a woman could possibly be interested in a man's financial resources causes your blood to start boiling, and the term gold digger slides its way to the tip of your tongue. And I get that. After all, isn't love supposed to be about a starry-eyed couple holding hands on the beach, looking forward to a lifetime of bliss? Well, that's what you were told anyway. It's not that Eastern women don't value a lot of the same things: looks, attraction, personality. It's just that in our culture, there are other factors to openly consider. And here's the thing that's so important for you guys to understand. In the East, we view love as a complete package that includes a social obligation to our families as well. Unlike in the West, we consider whether a man is a good addition to the extended family unit. I'm not just talking about how much money he can bring to the table, but what he can add in terms of stability and status too. We're not as individualistic as Westerners, and it's important to us that we don't add a weak link into the unbreakable family chain. In some Western nations, you folks seem to feel you're expected to throw your unconditional support behind almost any union as long as love is the main ingredient. If someone in your family announces an engagement, you're expected to congratulate them and support their decision, unless the person they're considering has a major flaw. Here, though, telling your folks that you're thinking about getting engaged to someone just causes the whole family to start discussing your choice, and everyone weighs in with their own opinion. You're seen as letting the whole family down if you pick a dud. And the fact that very few of us have any resources makes it doubly important that we don't marry someone who's no better off than we are. It might sound mercenary, but it's just being practical. It's not always that we're greedy and materialistic, it's that we're more upfront and open about that aspect of the equation. And that's not to say an Eastern woman will drop you like a bad habit the minute you suffer from a big financial loss. And she's not gonna sell her love to the highest bidder either. But she needs to feel like a certain threshold of security is being met. So when she goes to sleep at night, she's not worried about having food the next day or having clothes to put on your child. It's easy to pretend that material needs don't figure into things when you come from a place where having a roof over your head is almost guaranteed. But we don't have the luxury of that assumption here. Now, many of you might be tempted to remind me that in my previous video about supporting your Filipinas family, I said, in no uncertain terms, that it was not your responsibility, and I stand by that. It's not your responsibility, but it may be the responsibility of your Filipina to make sure that you're a good fit for her family unit, including finding someone that can help out in that department. This is one of the culture clashes that causes more friction than anything else I can think of, because we're coming at it from opposite angles. It angers a lot of foreigners when they realize that their partners expect them to assist the family as well. And it insults many Asian women when their loving, otherwise generous husbands suddenly seem to get greedy when it comes to the rest of her clan. Can you imagine if your Filipino wife got angry every time you wanted to support your children back home with things like helping them buy a car or getting a down payment for a mortgage on their first house? To you, it's unthinkable not to help your kids financially, sometimes even long after they become adults. It's your responsibility as a parent to care for your children you brought into this world. Well, that's the way your Filipina feels about her parents. In our culture, it's our responsibility to take care of the parents that brought us into this world, especially in their old age. If we partner with you, we'd like you to think you're accepting of our duties too, even if you don't think it should be our problem in the first place. Now, once again, I personally do not think it's your duty to spend the money you work for someone else's family. I'm just explaining the way an Eastern woman may feel about the situation and the things she might consider when bonding with you. And as much as it may anger you to think that a woman might consider other things besides pure love, let me ask you this. How is desiring a man who can provide a secure future any worse than choosing a woman based on her physical beauty and sex appeal, which men do all the time? Somehow it's okay to say, heck yes, of course I want a hot woman in the bedroom. That's just stating the obvious. But if a woman says, heck yes, I want a man who provides for me, she's instantly a gold digger? Sure, there are guys who don't seem to care about beauty and only choose a woman based on her personality. But seriously, guys, there just aren't that many men who use that equation, and we women know it. There are women who are hopelessly in love with guys that are flat broke and dumb as a box of rocks, but once again, that's a rare love equation for a woman to use when selecting a mate, and you know it. So instead of demonizing Eastern women for their open acknowledgement that other things do play a role in who they choose as a partner, understand that we were just brought up to admit the reality of our circumstances, and we're just trying to make a good match that will ensure that our family line endures. And before you flood the comments section with things like, no money, no honey, and all Filipinas just want your cash, realize that you might be missing a deeper truth. Yes, all women, both in the West and East, consider security when contemplating a permanent partnership. But for many Asian women in this culture, it's just a minimum threshold we're looking for, not a never-ending quest to trade upwards in order to get to the top of the ladder. Of course, hypergamy is a real thing, but I'd argue that its effects are somewhat muted here. And once we find a man who ticks our boxes, we're happy to stick by him, without feeling the need to always be looking for another branch to swing to, like a Western woman will often do. That's another reason why you want to seriously consider not bringing an Eastern woman to the Western world. It will have an effect on her, and it might be a negative one. Women in Asia don't need a constant thrill ride. We're just happy to have someone to go to the park with. There is love and happiness to be found in the East. You just have to be aware of the differences in our concept of love. Well, that's it for today. I hope this made you think, and I look forward to your comments. And as always, I'll see you in a few days with something fresh. Till then, folks. If you think about it, I'm kind of like Princess Leia. Even though I'm Asian and live in a galaxy far, far away, I have important information that needs to get delivered into the right hands. I'm your diplomat that can be a bridge between different cultures and help us understand each other to avoid conflict and smooth relations. All I ask for my effort is that you give a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell. So don't be a scruffy-looking nerf herder. Help a princess out. Not again. Yeah, keep your shirt on. In fact, put your shirt on. You look disgusting.